Europe's leaders sense they include already lose far too lot policy period on Brexit. Once again present, Main Secretary Theresa May heads to Paris and Berlin for negotiations in Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel, the following a quantity of telephone call on Monday in some EU leaders, in slight up her hose or in her pouch to stake in them. But far of show restlessness, okay, Berlin and Paris would include been lucky in a urge quite rather than a more than period consuming trip. EU leaders include welcomed creature in pin in Mrs. May front of Environment's Brexit Summit conference. She doesn't include a large path recording for receive the colour order on the overnight at EU gatherings. And in a not deal Brexit looming the Friday, the EU thinks there is no period for misunderstandings. Down there is slight Europe waiting how Crucifix Party negotiations in opposition lead, Jeremy Corbyn, will go to realization the 1 week, if always. So, EU leaders are interesting to listen the Main Secretary's schedule B. They expect down there is a, though they're not confident. They wish to aware, if they say yes to else Brexit expansion, which it will be utilized to. And they suspicion Theresa May wants them to do her filthy job for her. EU tactful source I include speak to propose the Main Secretary may include formally requested the EU for a brief new expansion, before June 30, as how was politically facilitating for her behind household, because she believed and hoped, this theoretical goes, how EU leaders will urge instead of on a versatile length expansion how she in fact as necessary. The lower link is, EU leaders are very hardly to reject to future expand the Brexit trial. France's Emmanuel Macron has been constructed up in the clique, or he has made lot to promote the picture, as the Brexit bad guy who could presidential veto an expansion and strength no transactions on Friday. Yet, time probable, it is hardly. Down there is no EU appetite suppressant for a chaos Brexit. And time CEO Macron relishes game bad officer, he one will not wish to be accountable for the effects of no transactions in Calais and on the Irish boundary. The at first is bad for France, the some for Ireland. Mr. Macron tell of his cohesion in Ireland time in Dublin just recent 1 week, and for the EU as a entire, in a risk to the consistency of the solitary marketplace on the boundary among Ireland and Northern Ireland following a no transactions Brexit. Quite rather than vetoing an expansion generally, Emmanuel Macron is more than potential to shove for hard facility to any new Brexit latency. These are, it's difficult to see how the too recent facility could be done juridically practicable. But needing hard facility has as lot to do in Mr. Macron setting on his protector of Europe hat for a broad auditorium, as whatever else. Towards of expansion facility, EU leaders are yet break above how length any new Brexit latency could or should be. Several sense a brief expansion would hold up the blood pressure on MPs to eventually go to a Brexit finding. Other favor a much longer expansion, 9 months to a year, but in the UK capable to canard out previous following Parliament ratifies a Brexit transactions, this as called flex tension. Carry in reason, EU leaders are start to mistrust at household for enabling the Brexit can to be always kicked downward the way. Ambiguity is expensive for Europe business community too much. The Belgium Main Secretary has requested an internal mandrel of countries largest struck by Brexit, consisting Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands and France, to encounter a pair of several hours up the summit conference on environment starts to try to ferret out several of their differences front of period.